This is the Cumbat Commander KBB. I'm not sure what that says. I mean, I could translate it, but ignorance is funny. This is an Optimus Prime figure by KBB. Now, this figure is a knockoff of the Optimus from the third-party Generation Toy GT05 leader set. Now, this figure is pretty small, but it is bigger than a core class figure. In fact, I would go ahead and even say that this figure is the core class annihilator. It is much better than the Legacy core class line, and you'll see why. I'm being a bit dramatic for YouTube if you couldn't tell. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Here's a closer look at the front of the packaging. You have Cumbat Commander over there. Here's another look at the top of the packaging. Pretty simple. On these sides in the bottom, you just have some text over there. Here's a look at the other side. And once again, no Transformers third party or bootleg would be complete without the words deformed or deformation on there. Here's a look at the back. You got another really nice picture of Optimus over there. And you have other figures you can buy. It looks like you got a Megatron, a Shockwave, and a Grimlock. Now let's open it up. Here is the figure, and he only comes with one accessory, and that is the Ion Blaster. Here's a closer look at it. It's very simple. It's all black with just very little detail on there, and it appears to be a little bit bent on mine. Here are the instructions for the figure. It comes in a booklet style, not a fold out. Now, honestly, this is not a bad looking figure. It does have a few problems though. Like right underneath the chest, you can see some gaps, and there's not really a way to close it properly. There are some stress marks right over here, but luckily none on this side. And now the head here can be a bit loose, so it might keep turning backwards while you fiddle with it. The rest of the joints on the figure aren't too loose, but they're not super solid either. They can hold in place, but they can be a bit awkward when posing. The waist area right over here is a bit loose though. Now, a closer look at the head sculpt over here. It is a really nice head sculpt in my opinion. Maybe a little bit too small. I feel like it would be better if it was just a little bit bigger, but you do have some nice blue and silver on there. Now, the light piping on this figure is really good, and that's because the back is entirely a translucent blue. There's also a very obvious screw at the back of the head over here. Also, if you look at it from the back, it kind of has a cursed Optimus Prime face. Are you seeing it? Comment below if you're seeing it. Now, the overall colors of the figure also look pretty good. It's a very slightly darkish red, along with some really nice silver paintwork, and you have some gold right over here on the arms. He does also have a nice blue tint on the windows. The figure has a minimum amount of detail on it, but it is supposed to be based off G1 Optimus. The smokestacks have some detail on them with a very nice silver color. Over here underneath the chest, you have a little bit of detail right there, and you have the classic grille over here. On the arms, there is a bit of panel working right over there. You do also get some very pronounced screws though. On the side of the arm, you have those like rivety thingies that trucks have, whatever they're called. I don't know, man. I'm not a truck. The crotch area looks pretty nice. That sounded really weird. It's a nice silver as well, with some nice gold on it. And now the original Generation toy doesn't have these gold paint applications on them. Not much detail on the legs over here. It looks very much like other Optimus Prime figures. You have the fuel tanks over here. You have some panel work and detail on the outside of the legs as well as on the inside of the legs. This figure does have some hollow points on it. The most noticeable one over here is the one on the arms. That is for the transformation because the hands do go back in there, so that's not really an issue there. If it had another panel here that could open and close like some other figures, that would be nice, but for the price point, I'm not expecting too much. There are some nub marks right over here and right over here. And man, I need a manicure. On the back of the crotch, you have some detail as well. The back of the legs have these hollow spots right over here. And the back of the arms on the shoulders right here have some hollow spots. And you can see a bit on the elbow there as well. And really for a third-party figure at this price, the hollow parts aren't really that big of a deal. Especially compared to other figures, such as Legacy Core Optimus, which we will be taking a look at for comparisons later in this video. Now, another really nice thing about this figure is that these wheels are rubber. And it looks like you can take them off. I'm not going to do that though. And it really is not a bad figure. You could take his weapon right over here, put it in his hand, and he holds it in place pretty well, which is good. And it does fold up for storage in the vehicle mode. And the transformation on this is really simple, along with the instructions being super clear, so a person with a tiny brain like me can follow them. Also, luckily so far, there isn't a whole lot of flaking or chipping on this figure, if you can tell on my set, compared to previous figures like Star Leader. Now we're going to untransform Legacy Core Optimus over here for some comparisons. Here we go. And side by side, yes, this figure is much bigger than this figure. Now, if we take one of those things people used to measure their dicks with, we will see that the figure is just about under 5 inches. So at least 5 times bigger than the size of my penis. Now, Legacy Core Optimus is about like 3.5 inches or so. Now here is something this figure is more comparable to size-wise. It's about the same size as a deluxe class figure. Definitely much smaller than Siege Optimus. And definitely much smaller than the Flame Toys Optimus model kit. Even next to classic Starscream, it is a bit small. Also, just for fun, here it is compared to the oversized knockoff core class figure. And here it is next to Bulkhead from my last review. And here it is next to the Alien Attack optional Girl. And speaking of options, you have the option to subscribe to my Patreon. Link in the description below. It's only $1 a month and it helps out tremendously. Now side by side with the Core Class Optimus, I do think this is the better figure. And I have a very controversial opinion on Core Class figures, which is, I'm not very fond of them. And the transformations are similar, but they're not exactly the same. This figure right here is more boxy, while this figure right here is a little bit more stylized. Here's a closer look at the head sculpts on both of them. I'm not really sure which one I like better. And the colors on this one are much brighter than the colors here. And I think I do prefer the painted windows on here rather than the translucent windows over here. This one also has gold plane applications on it, while this one does not. This also has a lot more detail on it and detail on the back, while this one has extremely little detail. They both have the smokestacks over here. Both of them have arms that go in for the transformation, which is something a lot of Optimus figures do have. Other than that, I mean, both of them have a grill piece over here. The crotch piece looks similar. They're both similar to G1 Optimus Prime, so they have their similarities and their differences. This figure has a lot of ball joints on it, while this figure only has ball joints on the arms and the legs right over here, as well as the head. The back on this one has hollow legs and feet over here, while this has the hollow bits here. The feet are hollow, but that's because it is supposed to come in like that. This one doesn't have hollow arms here, but this one does, but like I said before, it is for the transformation. Overall, I think this one is a much better figure. Now onto the articulation of this figure. You have a ball joint at the head that is kind of loose. It can look up and down. You can move it side to side, and it can spin all the way around. The arms over here on a ball joint, so you can bring them out all the way up that much. You can bring them back like that. You can spin them all the way around as well. You can spin the biceps, and there is an elbow joint right over here. The hands cannot spin. You can spin the waist all the way around. The waist can be brought up like this. The legs can come out like that and like that. You can also bring the legs up. There is a knee bend right over here, and you can bring the legs back. The feet are also on a ball joint. I think I missed that earlier. So you can spin them all the way around like that. Now I do want to reiterate about the joints here. They are kind of loose, but they're not like super loose. They're like just in between, if that makes sense. Now let's get on to the transformation, which is super simple. First thing you want to do is open this so you can bring his head down right there, and then close it, trapping him in there. Now close the feet up right here, and bring these hands into his arms. Now move the hands out of the way so you can bring this down. Spin his legs around. Now for some reason, it can be kind of awkward bringing this part out right over here, and bringing this up right here. You kind of have to do it just right. Otherwise, you'll have this issue over here where you can't bring this forward all the way. So bring these out first and out like that, and then you can bring this up. Don't forget or everybody dies. Now spread these out. Bring this down over here and bring these side pieces forward. Now you can take these flaps out right over here and bring them forward like that, and we can connect them like so. Now onto the legs, open these flaps right over here. Now this leg part here can be really tricky. Make sure the leg is open all the way like that, and then you can bring it in and then hold this in place and then bring the legs in like that and then push it in. It will take a bit of adjusting. There we go. Same over here. It's going to be 90 degrees like that. So flatten it all the way and then bring it in, hold it in place, and then bring it down, push it in right there to adjust it. Close this right here and snap it in place. Now turn his arms around and bring him in like that. Same over here. Now bring him back in there and push him in. Same over here. Get that in there. Make sure everything's aligned up. Let's fix the front right over here. Please go in. And now we can bring the feet together. And the feet are supposed to be down and pushed in like that. Now you want to bring these fuel tanks out and tab them in right over here. So go ahead and bring that in right over there. Same right over here, and there is a vehicle mode. Now since this is a third-party figure, you might have trouble getting everything to tab into place properly, and that's something you're just gonna have to live with. And honestly, the whole vehicle mode looks pretty good. I like the boxy square look the cab has like G1 Optimus. You can obviously tell these are feet at the back. A lot of G1 style figures have that issue. There's no port for a cab, so even if you were able to like 3D print one or something, you wouldn't be able to put it in anywhere. The side profile of the vehicle mode looks pretty good. Like I said, things aren't gonna be 100% perfect. Here's a look at the top, and here's a look at the bottom. Now right over here, if we take the weapon, we can bring it in, and it's supposed to go in like this. It is poking out a little bit though, and the front of the figure really just looks satisfying. You got some red and yellow paint for the lights right over here, and then the grill at the front. You have some unpainted lights up here, and some windshield wipers. Nothing that resembles a door on this figure, but I think it does do that classic Optimus Prime G1 mode pretty well. Now let's transform this guy right over here. And good enough. There we go. If we take a look at them side by side, I like this one a lot better. Even from the side profiles, this one looks much better. The core figure does have a simple transformation as well, but it looks kind of awkward in my opinion. And I've said this before, I don't like how long it looks. While over here, it looks just right. This one doesn't have gas canisters either like this one does. Both of these have that problem where the feet is obviously the feet, but the beds look very similar, and the wheels are in the same spot. Both have, you know, smokestacks and stuff. In my opinion, this third-party figure is the much superior figure over the core class figure. Now if you enjoyed this video right over here, make sure to watch one of these videos. And a big thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon. I'm hungry and gonna go eat some food now.